Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Curut Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2014 movie titled St. Vincent. Now, St. Vincent is a comedy drama that runs for 102 minutes long, so I'm roughly saying about an hour and 42 minutes. It is directed by Theodore Melfi. Melfi also produced the film, along with Fred Roos, Yeno Topping, and Peter Cherman. The script was also done by Theodore Melfi. The score was done by Theodore Shapiro. The cinematography by John Lindley. The editing by Sarah Flack and Peter Teschner. And the stars of the movie are Bill Murray, Melissa McCarthy, Naomi Watts, Jaeden Liberher, Terence Howard, Chris O'Dowd, and Donna Mitchell. In 1998, Wes Anderson cast Bill Murray in the cult classic coming-of-age drama Rushmore. Even though Murray's role was a supporting performance, he still succeeded in carrying the movie with his witty charm and charisma in his over 3.5-decade career. Even though he has established himself over the years as a comedic actor from the late 70s to the 80s and into the 90s, many people never had the time to acknowledge the fact that he's capable of performing quite well in dramatic roles. In 1984, the box office flop The Razor's Edge, Mr. Murray put in the effort to try his luck at dramatic acting. But because this movie stank, everyone dismissed his break from typecasting in this performance. Even though his performance in Rushmore was more comic relief, it was a pivotal stepping stone for Murray to pave the way for himself by performing in more dramatic roles once the 21st century got underway. Such fare includes Lost in Translation, The Life Aquatic of Steve Zissou, and Broken Flowers. And many people, of course, neglected the stunning performance Mr. Murray did when he portrayed FDR in Hyde Park on Hudson. So therefore, in 2014, Murray has returned to the genre we've been accustomed to in a comedy drama as the cranky old Vincent McKenna in St. Vincent. Many people have often speculated that we would have seen Jack Nicholson return from hibernation to play the role of Vincent McKenna. That was a rumor. But then I guess Murray decided to step to the plate to play this role. Alright, the story goes a little something like this. Vincent McKenna is an inebriated heavy smoker. He's a gambler. He dates with hookers, and he has a complete misanthropy with the human race, and his house looks like a pigsty. His wife Sandy, played by Donna Mitchell, is now living in a facility because she has now advanced stages in Alzheimer's disease, and a Sunnyvale facility for Alzheimer's patients wants to kick her out to a much more lower established facility because Vincent McKenna just can't seem to keep up with their financial he can't seem to keep up with his financial status to keep her in, so they're threatening to send her to a less expensive facility. So he's also trying to fight against them. And even though he recklessly drives inebriated, even at one point in time crashing into his picket fence, we still can't help but to love this crusty old grump. And we feel that this aging man's predicament. Sure, I mean, his wife is dying. I mean, when he goes to visit her, he has to sort of impersonate a doctor in order to communicate with her because she doesn't even know who he is anymore. So, you know, you feel for him. He seems like a lonely old man. I don't know if he ever had kids, but then again, maybe he never had a liking for kids. Maybe he and his wife were spinsters. We all know that he's a former Vietnam vet who has done a lot to help people over the years. And maybe sometimes his curmudgeon misanthropic ways could come from a contributing factor to post-traumatic stress syndrome caused by the effects of the war, which is probably one of the reasons why he may probably be in the state that he's in right now. His neighbor is Maggie Bronstein, played by Mrs. McCarthy, is actually hiring him to watch over her social outcast son named Oliver, played by Jaeden Liberher, while she's working late hours as a medical technician. And the two of them begin to get along by getting involved in unusual activities like visiting the racetracks and going to bars, just as long as Oliver's back home safe and sound at a reasonable time so that his mother isn't suspicious. He also encourages him to stand up against bullies who are picking on him, including one kid named Ozinski, played by, I think his name was Dario Barroso, who was bullying him. So, you know, when you think about it, who in their right mind would want to hire this guy to watch over anyone's kid? Most people would not even think the notion of having this curmudgeon old grump who smokes, who drinks, who gambles, who cheats on his wife with hookers and gets them impregnated, who drives inebriated. I mean, this guy is practically a menace that no parent would want to have their kid hang around with. But Oliver seems to find a special place in his heart that makes him look up to him. Even though the guy seems to, most of the time, be passive-aggressive towards him, Oliver still finds it in his heart to find good qualities in this very flawed individual. And that's one of the great qualities about this movie that makes this movie very, very special. The story is wonderful, the direction is excellent, and I really didn't have a problem with the story at all. And this is even from a first-time writer-director in Theodore Melfi. I mean, I know he's got a bright future ahead of him, and I'm sure he'll probably churn in some better films in the near future. You know, the future looks bright for this young man. And the bonding of these two unlikely friends will surely bring tearful moments of joy together. But there is still quite a bit of flaws about this movie that doesn't make it a classic. I mean, Theodore Melfi executes the script and directions in a very manipulative fashion. It's just that the chemistry between Vincent and Oliver is the best thing going for this movie, which is, I guess, Melfi's intentions. I mean, this is the focal point of the movie. But it just seems like the supporting characters don't have very much development and really at times serves little to no purpose in the movie. If you want the leads to be in a provocative state, the supporting players also have to show their significance and not just have their little fun in the sun. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to play a supporting role because it's a supporting character that helps build the momentums of the leads. The leads, sure, they may get most of the credibility, but the supporting players also have to step up to the plate to showcase their talents and not just be left as an afterthought. And that's kind of like what was the focal weakness in this story, which could have had the potential to be a whole lot better. First of all, right off the bat, Naomi Watts was just awful. Her performance as the kindly Russian impregnated hooker named Daka Primarova, she was just flat out terrible. I mean, her Russian accent was so badly done, it feels almost like a stock character coming out of a Saturday Night Live sketch. And if one cliche wasn't bad enough, well, Terence Howard takes care of that, who plays Vincent's merciless bookie Zuko. And I'm not saying he turns in a bad performance, but once again, he is badly underdeveloped. It's like he really doesn't serve very much purpose in the movie. Same could be said for Chris O'Dowd's character of Brother O'Garrity, Oliver's Catholic school teacher. He's, of course, thinks that the Catholic religion is the best religion to go around, while others are insignificant. Excuse me, but I don't know how they would react, since the class isn't just Catholic students, but it seems like ethnically diverse groups. But to go around praising your religion above everyone else's just doesn't seem right. And it also seems to come across as being a bit of a stereotypical cliche. Of course, being Irish born, he of course is going to give more adulation towards the Catholic religion rather than any of the other ones. So, like I said, there are a lot of very badly stereotyped characters in this film, which come more across as caricatures than really any developed characters at all. And, the stereotypical characters in this movie are cringeworthy. And those three are the ones that stand out the most. The cards are stacked that we are lured to love, embrace, and root every step in the way for Vince's quest for redemption, especially during the all too familiar health crisis act when Vincent suffers a stroke. I mean, we're practically forced to feel sad for him. And yes, we do feel sad for him, because while he was convalescing in the hospital trying to recuperate from a stroke, he gets the sad news that his wife had died. And instead of giving her a funeral, they just went right away and had her cremated, much to his chagrin. So he eventually goes from being a curmudgeon old grump to an even more curmudgeon old grump, and he even brushes off Oliver, saying, "Look, you can't see me anymore, so just get out of here." But Oliver still finds it in his heart to find out more about Vincent, since he thinks that Vincent was more of a father figure than even his own father. And then he has this big presentation at school where he goes out and goes out to know a little bit more about Vincent, and he gets a standing ovation when he gives a presentation to probably one of the most flawed individuals you'll ever see. and actually considers him a saint. And in a way it does have that important message that anybody could be a saint. You don't necessarily have to be religious, you don't have to be kind, you don't have to be a caring individual. But if you can find it in your heart to do something good for others, you can actually become an honorary saint. And that's really all that it takes. I have been a big fan of Melissa McCarthy as of late, and it's quite refreshing to see her break away from her comedic roles to try on a more dramatic performance on for size. But sadly, once again, her role as a divorced single mother balancing her work and raising her son has been done millions of times before, and she really has nothing new to offer. Which is a shame, because her delivery of lines has always left an impression on her fans. She really had her talents blanketed here. But the really special part of this movie that really truly tugs my heartstrings, that doesn't feel forced or manipulated, are the scenes involving Vincent and his ill wife Sandy, whose Alzheimer's disease is so bad she doesn't even know him anymore. His only communication tactic is to improvise himself as her doctor. But when money becomes a factor, it becomes overwhelming. Sunnyside Administrator Shirley, played by O'Dowd, another underdeveloped performance here, declares that Sandy has to be removed to a lower budget facility. It feels like a downpour is coming through my eyes. These scenes could actually play out as a movie of its own. Sure, it may seem more sentimental than the Vincent and Oliver bonding, but it does have a higher level of maturity. It had more merit to its credit. I just think Melfi may have took the easy way out. If I was to give a scale of 1 to 10 on this movie, it's a 6 out of 10 for me. Good story, good direction, good flow, but it's just that some of the characters are underdeveloped and some of them are just badly cliched, that it seems a bit embarrassing at times. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, feel free to do so. If you want to leave a comment, you may do so, as long as you're kind and courteous and not rude. And we'll be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Red Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.